let's move on to the industry talk segment of the conclave. Our first discussion is titled Expectations and Realities, Realty Trends, Corrections, and Forecast. Let me introduce our panel. The session will be chaired by Shubhankar Mitra, Managing Director, Advisory Services, Colliers. Shubhankar Mitra has over 23 years of experience in strategic consulting, market research, transaction advisory, program management, valuations, and other urban development related studies. He has to his credit several studies ranging from demand assessment, feasibility studies, market research, portfolio optimization, asset monetization, and various studies on leisure, entertainment, hospitality, and tourism sector. So this is our eminent moderator of the session. Let me now introduce our speakers in an alphabetical order. Let me welcome our speaker, Anjana Sastri, Director Marketing, Sterling Developers. Anjana looks into the sales vertical of the company and assists in sales strategies. Anjana is the CREDAI Youth Wing representative at CREDAI National for new initiatives. She was previously the South Zone and Karnataka State representative for the CREDAI Clean City movement. Our next eminent panel member is Ms. Ramita Arora, Managing Director, Bengaluru, Cushman and Wakefield. Ramita has been driving Bengaluru's transactions business, focusing on assisting Indian and global companies with the formulation and execution of real estate strategies, client management, and transaction management. Ramita has over 17 years of experience in real estate industry and is well versed with emerging trends in multiple asset classes across all markets in India. Our next panel member, let me introduce Dr. Renu Singh, President, Sales and Marketing, Spaze Group. Dr. Singh holds a vast knowledge of the real estate sector across all verticals, serving it for over 20 years. She has showcased remarkable activities in international real estate projects in multiple countries, including the United States, Canada, Macau, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Dubai. Our next eminent panel member is Ms. Richa Pathak, Corporate Legal Counsel, Larsen & Toubro Limited. Richa Pathak specializes in insolvency law, arbitration, debt restructuring, financing transactions, recovery and exit mechanism, structuring, and real estate financing. She is a member of the Loan Markets Association, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, Chatham House, London, London Court of International Arbitration, and Brookings Institute, USA. Our next and final member, let me introduce Yukti Nagpal, Director Gulshan. Yukti Nagpal is a new age business leader in real estate who loves opening new doors for the workforce, stakeholders, and buyers. From constructing premium living spaces to designing state-of-the-art landmarks, with a creative idea, she aims to implement new age strategies to guide the Gulshan Group. So this is our eminent panel, and Mr. Mitra, let me hand it over to you now.
Thank you very much, Sapna. I extend my warm welcome to this eminent group of panelists. It is a privilege and honor to be part of this group, this power-packed forum that we have today. As we know that real estate has shown a remarkable resilience during the pandemic days, and it kind of bounced back very soon. And as we see for last 1 year or more than a year, that the sector has been performing really well. All the segment, be it residential, commercial, retail, hospitality, all asset class. Our data suggests that the offtake has been good, the sales has been good, the prices have started firming up across most of the major markets. So it is really an exciting time, and it is also exciting, equally exciting, that we have the eminent panelists today who can throw more light on this. So let me start the question with Anjana. So Anjana, as we know that the sector has been really doing well, and it was subdued in 2019, but it has witnessed a resurgence. Do you see any kind of fundamental shift in this resurgence, or there has been a kind of ongoing trend, or there is any kind of new trend that you see that is the pre-COVID and post-COVID?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. So I think there's definitely been a fundamental shift in the buyer mindset. I think the one thing that COVID did teach all of us was the importance of a home, the importance of personal space and open spaces. So the entire buyer mindset has now shifted towards wanting more multifunctional homes. By that, I mean spaces for them to maybe create a small home office, some recreational space. So with this need, what's happening is that home buyers are now becoming more and more knowledgeable of what is available out there in the market. Developers have also become very sensitive to this, in that we're now developing spaces where buyers have an option of customization. They have an option of breathable open spaces. So a lot to do with the community that you're building. It's not just, an apartment in a complex or a villa within a community. It's the entire community that you're delivering to the customer. So community living has definitely become a very, very important piece of this puzzle. And I think customers are, fully aware of that and are also looking for that in more ways than one. They're also looking for communities or homes in locations which are accessible to basic necessities, to hospitals, even to their workplace, so their commute becomes a lot less. So I think there has been a fundamental shift in the buyer mindset. And with all these requirements of the buyers, what we have seen now is that buyers are pushing their budget for homes. So what they may have initially budgeted, I think COVID has also made them realize that pushing the budget or stretching it a little bit more will get them a lot more as well. So I think that has been one of the biggest learnings. I think the other important piece that again came as a result of COVID was a lot of developers were leveraging technology to develop site experiences or home experiences online. So today's customers actually equipped with being able to explore multiple options, be it in their city or outside of their city, right from the comfort of their home. So I think technology has played a very, very important role in, educating the customer and helping the developer reach the customer. So that's something that's, been a very important factor. Of course, I would say that, even the favorable home loan rates have definitely helped and empowered the customer a lot more. Customers are far more confident in the real estate market as a segment. And they're also more than willing to sort of go ahead and make that purchase now versus what they may have planned for maybe 2 or 3 years down the line. So there is definitely a shift. There's a shift in the mindset of the customer. There's a shift in the mindset of the developer as well, because the developer now realizes that, there are customers out there that are willing to buy ready to move in homes. So it also pushes the developer to deliver on those promises. So I think that's something that we've definitely learned. There has been a complete shift. And I think going forward, so JLL released a report about 10 days ago, which actually clearly depicted that customers are purchasing across and sales have gone up across, say, even if you take the top 8 cities across India, it has all dramatically gone up. So I think it's definitely a good and positive sign for us. And there is a very positive growth trajectory where real estate is concerned, both residential as well as commercial.
Right. Great, Anjana. You spoke about two things. One is that the customers are communicating more and developers are also equally responding to that, and the community living, which has come into the foray post-COVID. So these are the two important points you highlighted. Let me now come to Ramita. So I know that IPCs are having busy time these days with all sectors doing well. Now, this is little unique in a sense, like, we have seen either a residential is doing well or office is doing well, but this is a time where all sectors are doing well. So Ramita, can you throw some light, like what is the driver between a multi-sectoral growth at this point of time?
So Murphy's law, right? When you want things to go right, they never go right. So you have to keep backup ready. And I thankfully had backup ready with me. Good afternoon, and thanks, Shubhankar, for that question. Yes, this is our first time probably we are seeing all sectors coming together and doing exceptionally well. So I think the primary driver has been, if you look at across sectors is, I think, pent up demand, right? So during COVID, everybody was inside, people were not coming out, not stepping out. There were challenges from a government restriction point of view. There were so many other challenges that people were facing personally. So I think that's had an impact across sectors. So be it office, be it residential, be it retail, that's seen across sectors. But if I was to get into specific sectors and what's driving each sector, then potentially there will be one or two other factors that you will see that are, focusing on the growth of that particular sector. Residential, for example, I think with work from home and like Anjana mentioned, the priorities have changed from what people are looking at in residential. And that's where the shift started happening. People were moving into larger premises. So, the size of the unit started going up from a 2 to 2.5, 3 bedroom kind of a occupancy, because, people needed the space at home. So that, I think, kind of focused on the growth of the residential, along with community living and all of the other factors that Anjana spoke about. Interestingly enough, retail, we anticipated with, COVID doing whatever, retail would probably take a longer time to come back, but retail has come back exceptionally because the social life that people were missing during the pandemic, it's all is all coming back now. People are more socializing. There is pent up demand which people are focusing towards. Also, the interesting piece that now we are seeing is that a lot of people had gone home, into their hometowns, coming back into the cities, schools opening. So all of this is contributing to, the build of retail demand, and related to that, the demand of retail real estate. Office has been a peculiar sector. I think the fear is that we've got the maximum amount of COVID happening in office because that's the least favorable place right now. But interestingly, in the last 4 to 5 months, we've seen an increased number of return to work, or return to office, as I would like to call it, from earlier about 10-15% to about 40-50%. So that's been an interesting change, and that's going to see, or has been seeing, the uptake in the demand. Also, I think there is a lot of focus on cost right now, because whatever is happening globally. So India probably will gain from the outsourcing bug, which will continue to bite the world, and I think that's going to kind of continue to push business towards India. If you look at from what has been happening, we've already been overperforming from the previous quarters and previous years. So if I was to look at the research numbers that we have, by H1 of 2022, we've already crossed the H1 numbers of 2019, which were predicted to be the highest overall, right? So we've already gone beyond that number across India. So overall, the sentiment is positive. If you compare to other countries, India is, from a GDP perspective, definitely showing better numbers compared to the rest of the world. And I think this overall sentiment has led to, the growth in all the sectors that we see across the board.
Thanks, Ramita. You have nicely clarified. So pent-up demand, sentiment, and the overall need for socialization. I think this is the three things kind of driving the entire growth of a multi-spectrum, broad spectrum growth of real estate. Let me come to Dr. Renu. So Dr. Renu, we have seen that COVID has been a transformational year with technology taking a center space. And we have seen that there is a great amount of tech adoption in the real estate sector as well. So could you tell us what are the kind of tech initiatives that is now being followed in the sectors, and what are the things which is expected and anticipated in the sector?
Yeah, hi. Very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank Team Reality Plus for giving me this opportunity to be part of this panel discussion. And in fact, I'm sure that I'm going to learn a lot from you all on this panel today. So it's a very good question, Shubhankarji, regarding this tech adoption. So I agree.
Just to interrupt, your video is not on. So if you could...
Sure. Just a sec. Oh, is it on now?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I agree that tech adaptation in real estate and retail sector is constantly rising now. But what we have seen in past, in real estate companies in the country, they have been very traditional in their approach. But now in today's scenario, in order to retain the customers, it's very essential for all of us to focus on ensuring the safety and in fact the well-being of our customers while fulfilling their needs. So this is possible only when we include tech in our real estate model, real estate business, which was not happening earlier. Earlier, real estate was not proper working like or functioning like an MNC kind of culture. So now it is the utmost need of the hour for everyone. So if I talk about some of the tech trends that would help the customer experience for any of the project, I would say. So what happened in real estate, the first tech came, the first wave was when the property tech technology adaptation happened in early of 2000. When these online platforms like Magic Bricks, 99 Acres, Housing.com that were launched for home buyers for buying the property, selling and renting. And then after that, again, the property technology was very slow. Then again, a new concept of co-living, co-working that came again into place. And that again had not much innovation, I would say, in prop technology. But now, after this wave, COVID wave 19, it has brought about a radical shift in the consumer behavior. And the demand for digital transaction has become a standard offering from almost most of the developer, I would say, in real estate developers of India. So in my view, the technologies we in real estate, we should adopt the technologies to make our function smoothing, I would say. So the first tool which comes in my mind is the virtual reality. So earlier virtual reality was not used by each and every developer now, but it became builder realized during lockdown when the home buyers were not able to visit sites during lockdown. So the gap between the seller and buyer, that was very much fulfilled with this help of this technology, that was virtual reality. This enabled property tours virtually. Even though now everything is back to normal, but still virtual tours make convenience for NRI people who are not present physically. They are not able to see the site, but they can sit, they can being in their place, they can see the property and they can invest. So Reality Firm introduced this 3D virtual tour feature. And now we are working more on it so that along with the VR, I would say, building information model to be altogether integrated properly, so that this will help the control over the property design from the initial stages. So, and the second thing, the next step is 3D walkthrough of the real houses. Like there's one software called Metaport. It is again a very interesting technology where the people, if they want to rent out their space or sell off their property, they don't know how exactly the open house, open concept will look like. So this software Metaport, this has provided 3D walkthrough of their homes, of the people homes. They can do the 3D tagging of the property, 3D walkthrough of the real house, where they can see, place the furniture, decor. So this kind of technology earlier was not used in real estate segment. Now, the third technology which comes in my mind is big data and analytics, I would say. Then iBuying, that again is an example of leveraging big data, I would say, in real estate. And in big eyeing model, this big eyeing transaction model, companies use algorithms to estimate the home values. So this company uses the company using this artificial intelligence model built on top of the past transaction data and local market condition to determine the prices of the home. So this model again offers an instant liquidity for the home buyers to just check and sell the property as fast as possible. Then again, a new thing that called fractional ownership has been introduced in real estate. Fractional ownership, this enables our investors to own a fraction of property and earn rental income proportionate to their ownership. And with this fractional ownership, investor get access to investment opportunity also. And these investments were earlier, they were accessible only to the HNI within a closed network. But now the technology has enabled the widespread distribution and the discovery of such opportunities are allowing the smaller investors to invest in commercial real estate. And the next thing which comes up in my mind is a new software which is coming, that's called property management software, which would soon be introduced in India. For the upcoming spaces in India, it will be coming, where with the help of this software, landlord can easily book the services. They can even track the maintenance. They can collect rent collection can be done, tax payments can be done, payment of maintenance charges can be collected, and communication with the tenants would be more easier, I would say. And again, the technology in real estate is our AI technology, machine learning technology. So overall, in fact, in my opinion, I would say for real estate developers, if they need to survive and perform exceptionally well, we need to keep ourselves upgraded with all these technologies, latest technologies.
Do you also see blockchain coming in big way in real estate?
Yes. Blockchain, of course, it would be coming in real estate, and it will be again helping the buyers and the real estate developers to perform better.
Right. Great. Thanks. I think you have kind of highlighted a lot of tech initiatives, which is helping both the buyers as well as the developers and regulators equally. And I think there are exciting time ahead in real estate so far as the tech is concerned. Let me now come back to Richa. So Richa, we'll digress from this current discussion of demand, supply, technology a little bit, and let's talk about something on the environment. As we know that real estate sector is one of the largest contributors of emissions, and globally there has been a pledge that has been taken to control the emissions. So how do you see the real estate sector is embracing the ESG measures just to contain the emissions and make it more sustainable and more environment friendly? What are the initiatives you see, and what is the way forward according to you?
Sure, Mr. Mitra. Thank you. Thank you for the question. And thank you, WIC Realty Plus, for conducting such a wonderful session and inviting us to be one of the speakers on the panel. And now coming back to your question, Mr. Mitra, what we can see is the latest real estate trends are basically, I would say, best described as a mixture of both positive as well as negative development. Changing buyer preferences, rising property prices, and the onset of new technologies are set to make further alterations in the real estate market. In today's corporate world, sustainability is a key concept, as everybody knows about it. The advancement of sustainability in real estate provides, in fact, a great opportunity to tackle the climate change and the origins and the consequences of the climate changes. And now, I mean, just coming back to the main question, if we think about it, the main question arises is how can the industry reduce its footprint? So with the substantial carbon emissions by the real estate sector globally, investors and the stakeholders are increasing the use of ESG parameters to screen the investments, resulting into the private equity real estate investment managers placing greater focus and stress on measuring their portfolios against environmental sustainability benchmarks. And in fact, environment being one of the most prominent component of ESG in the real estate aspect, in the real estate space. So while India has been on track with the commitment under the Paris Agreement in terms of reducing the energy intensity and basically increasing the use of renewable energy, India is yet to declare the net zero ambition. However, this commitment will come much faster than the expectations, now resulting in more opportunities for businesses to be more ESG compliant. And the kind of investment which is happening are more ESG compliant, what we can see around. I would say I would more speak about the styles of sustainable investment. and as an approach which relies more on the ESG screening in portfolio decisions and the portfolio selection investments. This is now accepted as the global standard of classification and sustainable investing. And in fact, it's classified into various other components. I would touch upon few of them. One is ESG integration, so which is basically a systematic and explicit inclusion of environmental, social, and governance factors into financial analysis by investment managers. The other point is sustainability themed way of investing, which is like an investment in specific themes or assets related to sustainability, such as clean energy, green technology, green buildings, and sustainable agricultural produce. The third point, which I would touch upon, is the corporate engagement and the shareholder action. This approach favors companies whose strategies are susceptible to investor activism, which is via direct corporate engagement, which is proxy voting based on ESG guidelines, the ESG screening, whether it's an positive investments or the negative investments, and how would be the environmental social impact and on the industry impact as well as the social impact. And in order to cater to these needs, what are the steps taken in today's environment, in today's scenario by the construction or the real estate companies? Is basically by using the renewable recyclable materials, as well as limit energy consumption and waste reduction within the construction process by the construction and real estate companies. Consumer and investor preferences are taken into account. In addition to growing regulatory demands requiring industries to reduce their environmental footprint, this particular shift of catering and taking into account the customer and investor preferences is also driven by the nitty-gritties which are involved in culminating towards the responsible way of sustainable investments. Now, more specifically, more so because millennials want to go green and are basically incorporating this particular factor into their buying and investment decisions a lot nowadays. The other one is like preparing for a greener future, which the construction and real estate stakeholders must review the operations, processes, and basically the supply chains, and in fact, adapt to operating models and increase their research and development investments. In order to ascertain these requirements, they need to have in place the recruitment, the hiring and training for the new positions, such as, for example, environmental or energy engineers, or maybe a carbon specialist in the companies. And these types of positions are perhaps required to meet the new and evolving regulatory demands and the challenges and the impediments, and the different engineering and planning requirements of greener buildings. These changes will definitely require new ways of working. There would be collaboration with additional external partners and stakeholders, and the most important underlying fact is successfully leveraging the technology to ensure fluidity, the accountability at some point, and the traceability.
So, Richa, do you see developers are forthcoming in adopting the procedures, or there is still a hesitancy over there in the community?
There, I would say, with my own experiences in the e-commerce sector, maybe in the infrastructure space as well, whatever transactions which I've done and I'm continuously doing, large developers have been working on having an ESG policy framework in place in line with the global standards, and perhaps answering to your question, they have taken a proactive measures on reporting the key initiatives and the future course of action to their stakeholders also. While the environmental factors are in rate since the last few years, specifically from the social and governance perspective for over a decade now, companies are gradually becoming more responsible, and they are attempting to better the lives of the employees in general, and especially taking into account all the stakeholders and how it is impacting the investments in the investment strategies and the investment space. And in fact, gradually, ESG is shifting from a CSR initiative to a key component in decision making, and is very much getting integrated with the developer and investor goals. The responsibility of the real estate developers to comply with ESG, in fact, is no longer limited towards the regulators, investors and lenders. I would say the tenants would also expect a certain level of energy efficiency and sustainability given their commitment towards a net zero ambition.
Great, Richa, and I think it's quite heartening to note that the sector is embracing ESG guidelines and proactively approaching towards the initiative for improving the zero emission and sustainability part. It is coming from demand side as well, but I think more so the awareness has been great at this point of time. Let me now come to Yuki. I think you are one of the youngest leader in the industry driving a real estate, which is not very known for a women friendly for historic reasons. How do you see the diversity and the changing perception and the paradigm shift is happening in real estate space so far as the developers are concerned?
First of all, thank you for a wonderful question, and hello to all my panelists. I believe real estate has been named as man's word, and like you very rightly said, from a historic, very, very long time ago. But I think it's a passé now. I mean, look at all of us. We're all in real estate. And from the first time, 5 years ago, I spoke about how less women are there in real estate. Today, I see a sea change in that. And why I believe is that women have started realizing that they're natural homemakers. We're natural empaths. And when we are building or constructing or designing a house or a commercial space, that EQ, that no offense to any genders, but that EQ is slightly higher in women when it comes to the designing bit of it. And that's why you see so many women nowadays in leadership positions, managerial roles, executive roles, because real estate, that feeling of working in harmony is very important in any real estate company, because you have to very nicely coordinate from the planning stage to the construction stage to the selling stage. It's a whole life cycle of 4 years, and somehow women naturally harmonize the whole operations. And that's why this paradigm shift has been more than welcoming for all women who have been working in real estate or are willing to join real estate. With that being said, I think the growth is enormous, and I don't think there is a lot of difference in the pay scale also for men and women. The leadership roles are as well paid as they could be for men, as well as women. So that's a passé. It's not a man's word anymore. It's soon to be a woman's word.
Great, Yuki, and a very nice thing you said about women are the natural homemakers. I can't agree more with that. And I have always seen, the home purchase decision is driven by the women of the house.
Absolutely.
And they play a very key role while they can play a key role in buying side of it, why they can't play a key role in the supply side of it. So very rightly put in over there. So let me again come back to Anjana on this home side, and you have mentioned about how this a fundamental shift that has happened pre-COVID and post-COVID. Now, just to continue on that, do you see there is a resurgence of the premium segment home buy? Because over last couple of years pre-COVID, we have seen that homes are getting tinier and tinier, and developers are trying to put everything into a small square feet area as much they can. And do you see that again the bespoke villas and plotted development and second homes, are these products again making a re-entry in the market during the in the recent times?
I definitely think so. I think if you look at just the data over the past, if you take from 2019 to now, the biggest spike in sales numbers you will see in the segment that's 1.5 crore and higher in terms of the ticket size. So that's been something, I mean, there is data to prove it, of course, but that has been something that has been occurring not only just say villas or plotted developments, even in apartments. So in locations where you have slightly more premium apartments that are in that 1.5 to 2 CR plus range, it is seeing a huge demand. And I think what will continue to happen is two things. One is that yes, customers want larger homes, which is why, of course, there is a shift in the price band of customers. That's one. And I think the second one is customers have realized the value of having a luxurious space. Now, luxury can be defined to each individual very differently, But in doing that, I think people are pushing their limit with their budgets, which is now, empowering them to purchase luxury homes, as we term it, which is honestly pretty much anything above your 80 lakhs to 1 CR and above. So I think that segment is definitely seeing a lot of rise in demand, a lot of rise in supply as well. I think developers across India are, I think in between there was definitely a shift to try and deliver more affordable housing. While that segment is very, very strong, I think developers are also still focusing on delivering luxury projects. What has happened, like you said, with plotted developments or villa developments, is that given that people want their own sense of space, for those who can, I think a villa development or a plotted development gives them the independence of a home, yet the dependence of an entire community. So you're living in your own home within a community. The community, of course, has a lot to offer in terms of amenities, in terms of, a neighborhood. So I think that shift has happened. There have been multiple projects that have been launched, even if you look at the past quarter, within that space, and are doing exceedingly well. I can speak for Bangalore, since that's the market we operate in. I think villas and plotted developments are doing really, really well. So it's definitely a segment that has seen a spike now and will continue to see sort of that growth trajectory for the next couple of years at least. And I definitely think India is redefining the way they look at luxury, which is a great thing. I think Ramita will also agree, it's being seen in the retail space as well. So, it's not just homes or residential that's seeing it, it's being seen across various segments. And that's comes from two things. One is what Ramita referred to earlier, the pent-up demand that has occurred over the past 2 years, but also the buying power and the confidence that has come back in today's consumer. Which is, of course, leading the consumer to, make certain choices now that were not, say, for example, made before. So I definitely think this segment has a lot more potential. There are a lot of developments and projects across India actually that are coming up to cater to this need, and it will continue to grow. So I definitely see a very, very positive outlook for the luxury housing segment, or just villas, plotted developments, however you'd like to term that.
Right. So you see a kind of a continuity of this trend for next some time.
Yes.
So let me come back to Ramita, on a little bit on the challenge side. As we know that globally things are not very positive. US have entered into a technical recession. Eurozone is also getting in there. We know that war is going on. There's COVID in China, supply chain disruption. So many things are happening. Even job cuts have started happening in US market. We have seen Google and some of the other companies are reducing their staff. How do you see that is going to impact Indian market? There are a lot of concern that what will happen to the office. And you also mentioned, Ramita, that there is a question mark on that. How do you see that office market or overall Indian economy or the consumption is going to behave in mid to long term with all these global challenges and uncertainties that are looming around?
See, there's definitely going to be an impact. They always say, right, US sneezes and India catches a cold. So it's not that we are immune to what is going to happen globally, and India will not get any impact from that. In fact, we've already started seeing some impact, especially in the office sector, because the largest occupiers in the country are US companies, at least on the office side. And whatever is the global policies, which are, starting from US, are getting implemented in India. We've not started seeing the impact because, those conversations have just started. That is in this quarter, which is the third quarter of the calendar year. But by the time we start seeing the impact, it would definitely be the early part of, early part of Q4 of this year. But what will definitely happen is that the decision making from the US multinationals and from the European companies will slow down. That will be the immediate impact. We won't see action as robust as that was there in the market, at least for the next 1 or 2 quarters. Now, that's going to be something to see how the situation evolves, because I would say the silver lining on the cloud here would probably be that this may have a positive impact on outsourcing, because if there is, I mean, if especially looking at the unemployment rate in US, which is probably at a very nominal number at current times, there would be more outsourcing to India, and that will, benefit to at least the office sector significantly with more jobs coming in. But that's definitely in the future. There will be a slowdown. Decision making will be slow. But taking a point from some of the points that were made by the panelists itself, that especially on the sustainability and the ESG side, that has been, like Richa rightly put, it's been a very, very big focus. So we have seen flight to quality happening by occupiers across the market segments. They are looking at newer buildings. They are looking at more sustainable buildings that are providing a higher level of wellness quotient. So wherever the planning is around those parameters, they are likely to continue. I don't see a halt in those parameters. There will be a correction in the demand, but it will not come to a halt completely. Coming to the other segments, I think the overall market fundamentals are favorable from a residential point of view. Yes, there has been a blip in the interest rates with the announcements made by the RBI in the last 3-4 months, where the rates have gone up. But I think overall the environment, overall their willingness to look at newer properties will continue. The price point and the segments may change. So we had moved from, or rather we were drifting from end user demand from a residential point of view to speculative. In the last few months, we had started seeing people investing in real estate from a residential point of view, whereas immediately out of pandemic, it was more related to end user demand. And we had started seeing speculative demand coming up. Now, this may get a little bit controlled again if the recession starts filtering into the Indian economy as well. But the end user demand, which is now established, which people have understood the favorability of, that will continue. So the segment may change, but the demand remains. And of course, from a retail point of view, recession, no recession, we have the festive season coming up, and that's always favorable from a retail point of view. So if there is a consumer demand, there will be retail real estate demand as well. So the overall sentiment from a midterm point of view is of cautious optimism in the office sector, but the other sectors will probably continue to see the wave that they've been seeing, but slightly controlled, I would put it that way.
So cautious optimism is your take, and as you rightly said, that there is a festive season and there will be more of wallet spending, and this time it will be a bigger celebration than last 2 years. So
Absolutely.
I
think COVID, if nothing else, has taught us to celebrate whatever little we can, because you never know what is going to be the next opportunity. So yeah, we're all ready to celebrate.
Right. So I think that's going to drive the economy forward, and that's the silver lining over there. Now coming to Dr. Renu, you have worked in various international markets, and how do you see that the differences there in terms of the characteristics between Indian markets and some of the other international markets? And is there something India can learn from other developed market, or more developed market or emerged market, and adopt certain best practices? So now, Richa, if I can get back to you on this question of, the sector has kind of evolved from the pandemic, and government has supported the sector also, in various ways. And also we have also seen a host of reforms that has taken place in real estate, starting with the RERA and different other initiatives that has taken place. How do you see a government role in supporting the sectors, or do you see there will be more reforms coming in or required in terms of make the sector more kind of evolved and emerged? What do you see government's role, and what do you think where the government can support the sector more?
So, Mr. Mitra, I would answer the question very specific to the government policies and the reforms and the, the impact and the implications. And if we see lots of RERA, lots of judgments and lots of legislative rulings which has passed in the past and which is ongoing and yet evolving as well. The government is definitely doing their bit, and which we can see in, reshaping and revamping the real estate market and the sentiments of taking into account the sentiments of the consumers as well. But on the evolving part, I would say the way all these authorities and the tribunals are being, set up, the evolving part, I would touch upon the digitalization of the real estate, I would say. How real estate is evolving. That is what I am more concerned about post-pandemic. So the pandemic has had a significant impact on many industries, including real estate. Now, most citizens definitely will continue to work from home. More companies will use online channels to reach customers, and remotely operated processes. Should I continue?
Yeah, please continue. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, and remotely operated processes will increase significantly. However, the real estate industry is still in the early stages of digitalization. Now, I would like to say what new technologies are key for the industry. What is the focus on data mean in terms of investor profile and performance indicators? And what are the biggest challenges in this space? Are basically the key questions which I need to ponder upon. Reshaping the investor profile, which is basically, despite the overall size of the real estate market, big technology companies have shown little interest in the past. But however, this is changing rapidly, as we all can see. Now that this big conglomerates and big companies, for example, Facebook, starts building homes, Apple starts partnering with LifeNest in the private sector, the rented sector space. Google entered Sidewalk in with respect to developing the smart cities, and Amazon starts competing with Alexa in the smart home niche and partnering with Realty. The unicorn era is emerging at a rapid pace, as we estimate startups will double by 2030. So in my view, properties need to be digitized in order to deliver the real-time performance indicators, since bricks and mortars are no longer the only indicators to assess the property performance. So I see government doing a lot of other areas also, but at the same time, the digitization, how the responsible investments being made in the real estate space through these technology platforms is something which I am looking forward to.
So you see digitization as a key enabler for the industry going forward. That's great. Renu, if you can just speak a little bit about what are the best practices that India can learn from the global markets. Okay, I'll get back to you, Renu. So let me just ask a question to Yukti. So Yukti, you spoke about how this scenarios are changing and the paradigm shift has happened. What do you see, the major challenges for the industry? So you represent the supply side, you represent the developer community, and particularly being in the NCR region, you know the kind of problem associated with the sector. So what are the kind of top 3 challenges are there in front of you at this point of time? And how do you see government can play a role in supporting the sector more?
I would say that the biggest challenge from a developer's point of view is the clearances. And this is where the government could really support us, because we do not have any single window clearance, and the digitization that you're talking about, Richa, I would appreciate very much if government could implement that for the approval processes. I remember there was a short window during the lockdown when the COVID had just happened, and that time all the approvals were happening via virtual calls and meetings. I swear to God, there has never been a more pleasant time for a developer in real estate than that 3 months that were there, because within 15 minutes you had to show your drawings and you got approvals like this. Now we're back when everything is back to normal. There's again running from pole to post. There's again waiting for six months for your files to move. And we all understand what heavy cost it implicates on the developer when a single day's delay happens on the approval. So I would say multiply that to 3, and they are my top 3 challenges in real estate, because when we get a single window clearance, you would see not only the increase in speed from the construction point of view, but also the ease of financial stability throughout all the projects. Because why does the shift of money happens? Because one project is being eaten away in the approval process, and now to complete the other project, many developers have to switch their funds here and there. So all of that discipline would start coming in the industry as a whole once we have a single window clearance system. I would say if that government can do, there is nothing stopping the real estate growth.
Right. So you see that approval still remaining a big challenge for the community, and you strongly advocate the digitization of the approval processes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Renu, if you are audible at this point of time, so we can just quickly come to you. We have very little time left. So if you can just throw us some light on this international best practices that unfortunately, so Dr. Renu is having problem with her audio. So,
Shubhankar,
yeah,
I have a comment to make. This shows that
sure.
we really need to move back, return to offices to work, because I think technology is not the best everywhere. But if I was to say that, and Renu, I think is sitting in the office, so work from home probably works better. The rest of us, some of us are at home today, so I don't know what it is, but I guess technology proves that work from home could also be a good alternative.
Yeah, certainly, and probably hybrid is the way forward, as people are saying. So I think we had a wonderful discussion, and we covered a very diverse sectors of real estate, and from all possible angle, we tried to address the sector. And it's wonderful to have views from this elite panel. Just to sum it up, we talk about how technologies are changing. We talk about how the ESGs are changing. We talked about how there is a fundamental shift in the consumer behavior, and what are the way forwards and challenge for the sectors, so on and so forth. So to sum it up, I think there is overall there is a great enthusiasm and optimism in the sector, and we have also seen the kind of diversity and inclusion that is happening in the sector, which is very, very important, and the sector is getting more organized, more streamlined, and more evolved over the years. I now open this forum for audience question. So if there is any audience question, please, Sapna, if you could coordinate that.
Yes, we do have a lot of questions, and our tech team is working with Renu to help her fix that. Renu, probably you can try logging in from your phone as well instead of your laptop. But in the meantime, Mr. Mitra, this question comes for you, and it is from our team. In your long journey, how have you seen the rise of women leadership in the real estate sector? As Yukti said, now things are not the same as it was earlier, but you have seen, more than 20 years back how it was and now. So how have you seen the rise of women leadership in real estate?
So, I am an architect by profession. So when I joined the college, there were like 10 or 15%, of the total seats were women students. And now when I go back and check the college alumni, I see almost 35 to 40% are women students, girl students. So that's a great shift, I would say. And even same in the industry, when I joined the industry, there were hardly any broker who are women at that point of time. And now we see that across all the sectors, across all IPC's world, I think there's a significant leaders who are women. So I have seen that inclusion has happened. That has also been led by the education, where and then the skilling and participation that is coming from over there. I don't see any great challenge for women today to become successful in real estate, which was considered earlier little challenging. However, on the construction side, I think there is still room to grow. And what I hear from my other colleagues in Australia and UK and US, that there are a lot more women engineers and technical staff on the construction field, on the field job, where I think it is still far less in India. But I'm quite positive that India will catch up very soon.
Yes, we are on the right track. A lot of development on that end has happened, and the top management. I think it comes from top down. So the top managements are now more sensitized towards supporting the female professionals. Making the field level playing field for all professionals, whether it is man, woman, and gender diversity. And now we are talking about D&I in organizations. So I think we have come a long way from that. Now, coming back to the industry talk, as this is an industry talk session, Ramita, you spoke about a lot of, ups and downs happening. We are talking about recession in Western countries, maybe or hopefully not hitting India. But we had also seen one of the reports has said that India recorded 3.4 billion capital inflows in H1 2022. What could be the reason for the investors' confidence in the Indian real estate market? Ramita, we'll take it with you and then go to the other speakers.
Yes, so thanks, Apna. I think one of the main reasons why India is prominent, it's always been a favorable destination from corporate occupancy point of view. Now with the current market, logistics is taking a huge gain in terms of the preferences, investor preferences. There is investment coming into the residential sector, also seeing how the growth of the residential sector has been. So it's the overall the sentiment that we have been talking about, right? So just to give you a few pointers, right? If I look at the overall world environment, right, post-pandemic environment, there is the investor confidence in India is definitely on the rise because of the other confidence, that is with the business confidence of India increasing. When people started talking about China plus one, right now India is definitely on the services side, definitely the front runner for that. In fact, I would say probably better than China at this point in time, given the sentiment towards China that some of the world countries have. The other important area was the Eastern Europe. Right now, that is also under turmoil because of the war that is happening there. So there is overall general sentiment that those areas are high risk areas, right? So India, based on that, is seeing a lot more investor confidence, a lot more funding is moving. Also, the impact of all the regulations that we have in place, right? So RERA has come in, GST has come in, there is a lot more checks and balances. So the confidence of the investors to invest in India has definitely gone up leaps and bounds, and that is having a significant impact on the investment inflow. But just, I'm sorry, but jumping to the previous question, and I have need to make one point, because this is a very, very important forum to voice this. We look at getting a lot more women into the fold as far as real estate is concerned. But I think the fundamental issue is, definitely reaching the leadership level is a secondary issue, which all of us are trying to solve under the D&I initiatives that we have running. But I think the biggest fundamental issue is women entering the workforce. So I still face this when we go for campus interviews, right? We have a lot less women come forward for real estate companies interviews compared, I mean, at the time I joined from campus, there was nobody who wanted to join real estate. That has changed definitely, but we still need to push more. It's not how it is depicted in the film industry. Real estate is not all bad. I think that messaging needs to go out, and that's from that perspective we are doing a lot. We've also, as an organization, taken this initiative of talking about women in leadership in our company, and then definitely we'll respond beyond that. So there is a full-fledged effort, and I'm sure you'll see more and more as we grow.
That's fantastic. I think, as you rightly mentioned, from your time to now, you have yourself seen what has been the pickup.
And I caught a little bit of the previous segment while they were entering, right? And one comment which is really close to my heart is you need to raise your hand. So if you don't raise your hand, you really get left behind in the race.
That's right. That's right. Quickly, Richa, with you, in terms of legal framework, again, a lot of evolution has happened from, earlier era has come in, more regulations. Real estate sector is much more organized now. But how the buyers' interests are being taken care of? Recent incident of super tech, towers we are looking at. Is buyers' interest being taken care of? Because still there are a lot of, talk about that RERA is effective, not effective. In a quick 2 lines, buyers' interests are getting protected under the legal framework now for, in real estate.
Looking at different judgments passed by the legal authorities and the forums, I see one very prime and very important is the inclusion of real estate allottees as the financial creditors. So I see there are a lot of positive sentiments which are being catered towards and which is being looked at the requirements and the challenges which the the allottees or maybe the flat owners from the buyer's perspective are being taken into account. But I also agree, looking at various precedents and the unprecedented events and the unwarranted events also which has unfolded in the past. There has to be some more, focus being made by the government, by the authorities, by the tribunals, where a major interest is being looked at. And I mean, answering to the question, I would weigh this as yet evolving, but there's a lot of room which can be worked upon by the legislative authorities or maybe the government.
Yeah, I think in one of our talks with Mr. Gautam Chatterjee, he said it's not the laws, but it's the people that make it efficient. So things are there, the regulations are there. It is for the people to implement in the right way. Anjana, coming to and one question that we have is that luxury or premium residential real estate is set to rebound in 2023, going by a lot of industry reports. What's your outlook for the segment?
So I definitely think it has already rebounded. I wouldn't say it will rebound. So it's already begun on that sort of trajectory and it'll continue. So I think what we are seeing, and I referred to this earlier when I answered the question, is that there has been a spike in demand, in that segment, and India has redefined what luxury means. So it's only going to go above and beyond from here. And I think what's also interesting to note is it's not just the top 8 or the tier 1 cities that in India that are sort of reflecting this. It's across India that we're seeing this. So, that's something it's interesting, and it's also great for the industry as a whole, because the whole industry is being uplifted by way of consumer preferences changing, of course, and of course developers being able to deliver on the needs of the consumer. So the trajectory is already it's already taken off, and it'll continue flying at 30,000 feet for, I would only hope, at least another 3 or 4 years.
Okay, fantastic. That's good news for everyone listening to this panel discussion. Now, one question, our topic of this discussion was expectations and reality. Shubhankar, Mitra, starting from you, what are the expectations as an industry person, and what actually is the ground reality that you would say?
So everything is good is expected. But reality is that all the good doesn't happen all the time. So one thing we expect that, the global turmoil and all the uncertainties that we are seeing we expect that it will not touch India or it will not impact India so much. But ground reality is that inflation is a very significant deterrent, and the way the oil prices, etc., is keeping itself high. I think it will be a challenge to keep the momentum going in the long term. We might see things are slowing down a bit. That's the reality.
Okay, Ramita, what's your view on that? What is the ground reality and what are the expectations? You are on mute, I think. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So I was saying expectation is that the wave that we are riding will continue. But obviously the ground reality is that nothing continues forever. And we are not immune to the recessionary trends that we are hearing. So it's will the impact be very severe or not? The next 2 quarters will tell us. We hope, and it seems at this point in time that it's going to be a blip for a couple of quarters. But I think the reality is going to be something that which we will get to see only by Q4 of this year. So it may not be all singing and dancing till the end of the year, but I guess India is resilient. We are prepared. We will continue to shine. So it's just hoping for the best.
Yes, fingers crossed. Richa, coming to you in terms of, from the legal perspective, again, what are the expectations maybe for the buyers, maybe from the industry, and what is the reality, and, where should we head to?
Absolutely. So from the legal perspective, the disputes, the main chunk of it is the dispute, how the transaction is structured, basis the specifications and the requirements. That is something really important to look at. But from a micro perspective. From a macro perspective, I would say, given the global initiatives and agreements, regulatory requirements, and the need of the hour, as we say, ESG can no longer be said to be a flavor of the season. It is, in fact, set to become the mandatory at the level of each stakeholder. So in fact, to sum it up, with various checks in place, India is on the track of becoming sustainable and moving towards a global net zero ambition. But the transformation of economy towards a greener future is an enormous challenge that requires tremendous efforts from all stakeholders. With respect to the advice for the future, in the digitization space, the real estate industry is in the early stages of the digitization path. So there is room of improvement now that the sector is becoming increasingly data-driven. As real estate turns from property to operations under the umbrella of the industrial revolution, technology will become critical. However, this requires a careful approach, and this must be basically counterbalanced by user multi-experience and more professional attitude towards the sector.
Yes, I think technology is creating a lot of transparency in the systems. Yes. As you talked about dispute resolutions and all, probably that is one reality that we have to deal with. And ESG is, again, yes, we are all...
Yeah, because we see if there's a matter which is filed, if the case there's filed, it's an unending thing.
That's right. That's right. That's the reality of real estate. Yeah. But yes, we are figuring out the right way out of it. We are, on the right track. As long as we are doing that, ESG is something we are all aspiring to, and looking at, what you spoke about, the developers are working towards it. Anjana, coming to you, as you said that yes, real estate is high flying already, and it's going to touch higher, altitudes in the coming years. So that is our expectation, definitely. What is the reality, and how do you see the future?
So, I mean, that's definitely the expectation and the hope, I think, for anyone that's a part of this industry. Reality is that there are a lot of barriers, whether it's your rising input costs, whether it is, like Yukti mentioned before, whether it is, clearances and approvals coming in on time. Of course, global markets do tend to affect us. And Ramita said, we are a resilient country. We've always been. I think we bounced back great after COVID, but there will be a little bit of an effect of that. So I think there are certain barriers that, will sort of be stumbling blocks as we choose to continue cruising. But these are things that as an industry, we will encounter. And real estate has always been a cyclical industry. There are a number of years of a high, and then it sort of dips a little bit. So it's not sort of going to be any surprising or any different. But I think where we are right now, we are on a strong growth trajectory, which will continue, but there are hurdles that we all have to overcome to ensure that it continues.
That's right.
So reality is not all, laughs and smiles.
Bed of flowers, yeah.
But but through it all, I guess there is a silver lining, and we're all working towards that.
Yes, we have seen that, as all our speakers have said, Indian real estate is resilient. Indians by nature are very resilient. So we will, be positive and are, expecting growth for the sector. Thank you so much, Mr. Shubhankar Mitra, for so wonderfully moderating this panel and sharing your views as well to our speakers, Ramita, Richa, Anjana, and Yukti, and Renu. Unfortunately, they had some technical issues and they had to drop out. But thank you so much for being here with us, sharing your time and sharing your views. Thank you so much. Lovely to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sapna. Thank you.